our first cast since after the election. So this is our end of the year update to let everybody know what's been going on with you. So what has been going on with you?
Actually, I just kind of relaxed quite a bit. I actually had some free time for once, so that was
Yeah.
nice. And one thing I've been looking at though is kind of changing my lifestyle a little bit to a more healthy lifestyle. Unfortunately, there is a pattern in my family of dementia. I know it's not just my family; it's all over the place. And I've been looking at ways to reduce the risk.
You know,
And there,
before you go into the research, because I know what you're going to get into, but before I do, I want to kind of let people know who weren't aware of this, is that you actually suspended your campaign over this issue. So I kind of want to give a quick backstory so that people understand why this matters so much to you, because we really didn't talk about this a lot during the campaign, but this was always an issue, and we privately talked about this a lot, was what was going on privately with your father. So let's kind of catch people up on that. So what was privately going on with your father on this?
yeah, so basically, he has had dementia for about 5 years. He was in a car accident that kind of accelerated it uh, for several or accelerated it several years. But and it's this last year it's gotten a lot worse. So like a year ago he was still walking and could still have conversations and things like that. But that changed in the summer of last year, when he actually fell and broke his hip, and then had to go to the hospital for that and get that fixed. And I mean, he was having trouble walking before he fell. That, I mean, his balance has been compromised. Um, and the doctors were able to fix his hip at least well enough so he wasn't in pain all the time, and we're able to kind of stabilize his condition. But he's not walking anymore. It's a really scary disease. Um,
And
and he's, yeah.
I can cut in here because you had some really scary revelations that you learned a lot about the healthcare system through that. I mean, the road you walked was something that many of us are really quite terrified to walk, because you learned things about the healthcare system, you learned things about diet, things that I don't think any of us knew about. You had to learn, and you had to learn them quickly, and they were life-changing things, right?
That's exactly right. So I mean, yeah, I mean, what I did first is I just did a lot of research on what can I do? Are there supplements, or are there or diet changes? What supplements work? What ones do not work? Those types of questions. And what I was able to find was actually um is a lot more enlightening than I thought I was, and which is actually kind of good news. So that's what I'm going to share today is what I found out. And first of all, dementia is a huge problem. So 55 million people in the world have it, and 7 million Americans. And so that's more than the whole state of Colorado have dementia. And then 90,000 people die per year. And just to put that kind of in context a little bit, amount of people that die from gun-related homicides is 11,600 for 2021. So it is
Wow.
way more. And the gun homicide is a big problem too, but dementia is just a huge problem. And that number has doubled in the last 10 years. So it's an epidemic. On the photo, there's what a typical kind of latest stage dementia patient might look like. Um, Typically that they're in their bed all day and sleep a lot and things like that. Um, Well, yeah, it's scary. I mean, it scares me more than anything, really. And then here's kind of the trend, and it's really bad. It's been increasing since the mid 1970s, and is up. I mean, that's more than 200% increase from the 70s.
So,
And
so
that,
I can say so, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'll go back to this because this is an alarming statistic.
oh yeah, it's the problem is just getting worse and worse, and then you have to look at. I mean, there's more than one reason for this, but
But you
diet.
actually did a lot of study on the diet, right? And that's why we're going to talk about diet,
Yeah,
because this has become your passion project since the election, right?
that's right. And I'm gonna be spreading the word on this as much as I possibly can. So that's gonna be talking with health departments and people like members of Congress, like Brittany Patterson and people like
Yeah,
that. And she might already
which
know
is
about
why we
this.
were really excited about building coalitions, and since the election have been building coalitions because you didn't want your advocacy to end with your campaign. You wanted it to continue, and this is one of the things that you were hoping to do in Congress, right?
That's exactly right. The healthcare issue is huge, and there's a lot of reasons for it, and diet's a big part of it. And then we have to look at what is causing the problem with diet. And these food subsidies have been around for a long time, since the 1930s. But if you look at what they're going towards, a lot of it is going towards junk food. So you have meat and dairy, which may or may not be good. I mean, it depends on the source of the meat and dairy and that sort of thing. But then you have sugar, starch, oil, and alcohol. So that's basically for junk food. And then you have a few things that might be okay, but very little goes to fruits and vegetables. So these subsidies are basically just subsidizing big ag, and they're not for nutrition. And they definitely, I think a phase out approach makes the most sense. And actually, Barack Obama supported doing that, and he was looking at doing that at the same time he was doing Obamacare, and it didn't go anywhere. And that is part of the reasons we saw healthcare prices continue to go up during that time period. Obama was promising that they wouldn't, and this would have helped if he got rid of the subsidies. It would have helped keep the costs from increasing, but that unfortunately didn't happen.
So when you talk about ending subsidies like this, what you're trying to do is you're actually trying to build a healthier food plate for America, right?
That's exactly right.
And
Because
actually, President Obama was on the right track when he was trying to do this. So this was actually a good thing for America, and we're trying to redo this again.
yeah, that's exactly right. That's one of the things I actually agree with Barack Obama on, is that these food subsidies are not benefiting the country, and they cost a lot of money. The cost is over 100 billion per year. So I mean, that's something where you can gradually phase it out. Unfortunately, if you got rid of it immediately, you would see some increases in food prices. That's not the
Right. And
best thing
right
that's
now, we don't
happened
want to
right now.
increase food, right? I mean, food
Yeah,
is
so you
important.
want to
Yeah.
minimize
Right. Let's
minimize
not
that right
starve
now.
America, because they'll immediately go to processed foods. And so that's not a good thing. So we don't want that to happen, but we do want to do this gradually, right? So that we can build America's food plate correctly, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And let the free market. Look, I think the free market and people knowing what is good to buy, or what has the most nutrition, what foods are the best to eat. That combination, people will make the right decision most of the time. I mean, there's some exceptions, but if
And,
you
and
look at
I'm gonna say, and you think we can help the US government help with that food pyramid, right?
that, that's exactly right. The U.S. government has been trying to do this for a while, and this is the first attempt at it. And it's called the food pyramid, and it's around for 13 years. It was actually invented in Sweden in the 1970s, so it's a really old diet template. And the big problem this has is, if you could see on the bottom, it says 6 to 11 servings of bread, cereal, rice, and pasta. I don't think I've
Which, by the
ever
way, I don't
eaten.
have a problem with this.
The pasta,
But I should, huh?
yeah. I
Okay,
mean,
why should I
I
have a
mean,
problem with this, according to the
even
mind
when I was
diet?
a teenager, I did not eat that much bread and pasta and cereal. Especially 11. I mean, it might have gotten up to 6 occasionally, but yeah, never 11. Um, and so that's the obvious problem with that. Um, and that, I mean, the rest of the diet, the rest of the plant isn't that bad, but that is a fatal flaw. And what happened is, a lot of people back in 1992, people were actually pretty healthy. I mean, and we'll look at that in more detail. And these food pyramids were all over the places. On like every single loaf of bread that you bought would have this food pyramid on it. And you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm doing a good job buying this bread and eating it.
It was at every meal.
When really, unless you're doing a lot of exercise, a lot of that would just turn into fat. A lot of those extra carbohydrates would just turn into fat. That's unfortunately what happens. So that's about all there is to on that one. So it's definitely a flawed pyramid, and this has been changed, and we'll go into that in a little more detail. Um, and here's in 1992, the United States was relatively healthy. Health insurance was not that expensive. I remember I could easily just buy my own private insurance, and I think it was like a little over $100 a month in that time period. And there are a couple of states that are in the yellow category, but most of them are in the green. So yeah, really, in 1992, as far as the U.S. health goes, we were in pretty good shape. Um,
Look at us,
that's what-
Colorado being the healthiest, one of the healthiest states in the nation,
mhm.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Ooh, look
yeah.
at 2000. Ooh, well, look, thankfully Colorado, we're still rocking it. You
So,
know?
so we go from
Woo.
so we go from the best green category to yellow, but
Yeah, well, we're still, well, we're still the best of the worst. It's like, wow, is there anybody who's green? Ooh, not even Hawaii. Nobody's green.
yeah, there's no greens left. So in this one, this is with that would be, what's that, 12 years of the 13 years of the food pyramid,
Oh,
and it's obviously not working. And we're
obvious.
probably gonna figure that out a little while before that. Um,
Was
but
nobody in the government looking at their own statistics? That's just embarrassing.
yeah, it's really bad. And you think, I mean, this is when Bush 43 was in power, and you'd think he'd be like, well, let's do, if your food pyramid's not working, let's do something else. But yeah, they didn't do it. There were
Well,
better
he was
diets around.
preoccupied with a couple of wars, so
Yeah, I think he's more interested in going after Al Qaeda, but
right.
um yeah, unfortunately it was going really bad at this point. And on the next slide, the the trend
Oh,
continues. So what happens here is they actually changed the whole scale of the the different colors, because it's getting so bad, because everybody would have been in the red. So so they
so what they
so
did is that they changed the metrics
yeah, that's exactly what they
so that it
did.
didn't look so bad. That's
Mhm.
well, that's government.
So yeah,
We can't have
so,
everybody fail, so let's do a curve. Do a bell curve.
so they changed the highest category to 35% plus, when
Oh my
before it's
gosh.
30, and then yeah, so they completely changed it. So I mean, the good news is Colorado's back in the green, but
Of
that
course.
green was the middle category of the other chart.
Oh my God.
So so definitely, and this is when the government switched off of the food pyramid in this year.
And this is when we
So
did build the plate, right?
the my plate, which we'll go into a little bit later. So So yeah, it just continues to get worse. And then the next one is I think it is, yeah, just
Oh,
last year.
wow.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot worse. And obviously closing the gyms is not helpful.
No, that was,
So
really, you can actually see where closing the gyms was just a horrible idea.
mhm, that definitely doesn't help. And Colorado's managed to stay in the green. I think the mountains help us
Yeah,
because and DC, it might be just because nobody has cars there. I don't know.
yeah.
Not sure. DC is the only other one in the green right now. And we're not in the lower green anymore. We're in the so we actually bumped up one. So yeah, this is a lot worse than it was on the last one. So it just keeps getting worse and more out of control. So what we're doing isn't working. And this is definitely got to have something to do with the higher dementia rates, plus a bunch of other health issues like diabetes and blood pressure and things like that.
Right.
Um, and it's definitely not helping our healthcare prices because they keep getting more expensive also. So it's a combination of things that are going on. Um, so yeah, it's a huge issue now. Um, the 19 or 2011 diet is called My Plate, and it's pretty easy to find on the government or on the it's part of the USDA on their website. It's pretty easy to find it, and it's very simple. So how it works is you can click on any of those categories, and it gives you a little bit more information of which vegetables to eat and which grains to eat and those sorts of things. So if you click on vegetables, it doesn't tell you to eat French fries, and, and that counts as your
Potato
vegetable.
is a vegetable. Do I click on the next slide? Oh, okay, there we go. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna go back to the what's
That
my
does give you some more
yeah.
detail
Yeah.
of what.
I know, guys. Sorry, I was clicking around on your slides. So just like because like for me, potatoes has always been a vegetable, but apparently, if I click onto my plate and I click vegetables, it's not going to tell me potato. Do potatoes get in there?
Potatoes is a vegetable,
Yeah. Oh, it's not going to tell
but
me French fries
but
though, right?
but not but
No.
not deep fried.
Well, yeah. So like it's like if I click that on, it's not going to give me sweet potato fries, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I think what it says is just I'd have to click on exactly what it says, but
Oh, I
it
already
does
know
give
what
you
it
some.
says. I have friends at the USDA. They
Yeah.
they they they, they give me grief about my diet. Ice cream is not dairy.
It looks like a milkshake, right? So
Right? That's
yeah.
what I tell them that. There's milk in there and they just take that away from me. And
Well,
then they tell
I
me I
mean,
shouldn't be drinking milk anyways. So yeah.
well, I actually milk can be okay, but some people are lactose intolerant, so
Yeah. They give me
you have
grief
to
about
watch that
dairy
a little
milk.
bit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we
So,
can have a whole conversation about that. But that's why I guess we're going to talk about the mind diet because you have done a lot of research on this. But before we get into the mind diet, do you want to give a preliminary into what the mind diet is, or should we just click
yeah.
on to what is the mind diet?
Okay, so what it is it came out in 2015, and it is very similar to the Mediterranean diet. And I think um, they're looking at statistics of countries like Italy and other Mediterranean type areas, and they found that they had a lot lower rates of Alzheimer's. So then they were thinking, oh, maybe it has something to do with the diet. So they kind of looked at what people eat in Italy and countries around there, and they noticed that okay, there's higher amounts of vegetables, there's higher amounts of fish, there is poultry and chicken and turkey and stuff like that. There is fairly high amounts of fruits, and lots of berries, and olive oil obviously is a big part of Italy's diet. And then they actually did a study where they compared 1,300 adults that are both kind of older. That way you could get some statistics a little bit quicker. And they found that the adults that ate the mind diet had a 53% lower chances of getting Alzheimer's. So that's
Wow,
huge.
that is
So that,
huge.
I mean, that's decreasing it by more than half. And this is not a hard diet to follow. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not
I
like it has a
actually,
bunch of,
I'm going to say, I actually have been on this diet for about, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years. So I'm very familiar with this diet. The only thing I don't eat is I don't eat the omega proteins from fish.
Mhm,
But pretty much I follow and the olives. But I
mhm.
pretty much followed this diet. So I'm familiar with this. And I have found that because I go to my doctor every 6 months for a fasting blood draw, and my health has just been amazing. It's increased on this diet. So I agree with these studies.
Yeah, it is very, I mean, it doesn't really surprise me a whole lot, but um it's like, wow, it's a big change. And it's not, yeah, the diet doesn't have any like real weird things you have to eat or things that you can't find in grocery stores or things like that. So yeah, I'm pretty excited by this. And I've actually started using the Mind Diet. I've only been on it for about a week, but I have lost 3 pounds already. And that's right during the middle of the holidays. So usually that's a time when I'm gaining weight and I lost weight. So, so that's a good thing. So we'll see how it continues to work. And I've gotten absolutely zero exercise this week either, also because of the snow and things like that. Um, so losing that much weight with no exercise, no significant exercise at all is impressive. Um, and I feel pretty good too. So
Yeah,
so
I actually, my doctor put me on it years ago because I was my cholesterol level, it was starting to increase and I didn't want to go on medications. And so my doctor has suggested this diet to help with my cholesterol. And my cholesterol not only leveled out, my cholesterol became perfect. I mean, it's literally perfect. There's like this like nice fatty whatever like fluffy little cholesterol that you need and stuff, and that actually became perfect. And if you look at my health overall, everything normalized, and it was amazing. So it wasn't like so much weight control for me, it was actually readjusting back my body to get it normal. But I actually, when you say the Mind Diet, when you told me about this as the Mind Diet, it's like, you know what, that's interesting because I did actually, looking back, notice an increase in acuity. How about you? Have you noticed your mind being sharper?
yeah, a little bit, I would say. I mean, there's a lot of things that impact that, like sleep and things
Yeah,
like that. But yeah, I think it's a little bit sharper, for sure.
yeah,
And I haven't been at work yet on the new diet, so that'll be interesting to
yeah.
see how that goes. But yeah, I think generally I feel a little bit more alert and able to remember things a little bit easier and that sort of thing. But it's still pretty new on that. So we'll see. I mean, I'll continue to be on it and we'll see how the results work. We'll continue to see what my results are. But it is pretty exciting. And then here's what to eat. And fairly simple instructions, a lot of vegetables, but it's not an outrageous amount of vegetables.
And
It's
by the
not
way,
like,
you're blocking one of the things you're going to tell everybody what you're blocking.
oh yeah, oh yeah, there's can we move that or?
I no, I can't.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, we'll go over that. But it's not like 10 servings of vegetables a day or anything, but it is a pretty good amount of vegetables. And then the oils, it's recommending olive oil, walnut oil, and avocado oil um, for cooking. That is saying wine is fine. It doesn't say you have to have wine, but it is beneficial as long as it's less than 1 glass per day. And then berries are good. And then nuts are good and they help fill you up too. Beans, it's saying at least twice a week. That's pretty easy to meet that. So
Yeah.
most of these are pretty easy to meet. And then whole grains, it's saying 3 per day, so it's 1 per meal. It's fairly easy to do that. And then fish, it's saying you can't see this, but it says one at least once per week. So that's fairly simple to do that. And then poultry, it's saying at least twice per week. So again, easy to do that. So yeah, nothing's really that hard to do on this diet, which is excellent.
Now,
Um,
now the fish I couldn't do because I'm allergic to fish. So my doctor told me that I could easily substitute like lamb for that, which I don't, really like lamb very much. But he said that I could easily like substitute, make substitutions for the fish. He said that really the issue was getting the omega-3 fatty acids in. So that and he said that you have to get protein in there, and it has to be an animal fat protein is where they're going, a fish protein and animal fat protein, but there has to be an omega-3 protein in there, and that was really the point of the diet. So if you can't eat fish like me, like they have an allergy to it, the substitution has to be something like that, but it can't be a processed food protein.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I guess that would be an exception if you have a fish allergy, you can substitute.
Well, or
something.
nut allergy or something like
Yep.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just make the substitution, but you have to see like what that is, and then when you substitute it with whatever that is bringing to the table. So that was how we arranged it for me, was we're looking for the omega-3 fatty acids.
Yep. And obviously another one that a lot of people have issues with is gluten,
Right.
for the whole grains. So there are a whole bunch of options up there that don't have any gluten, like quinoa and oatmeal and things like that. So that's a good thing. I could have a little bit of gluten, but if I overdo it, it can cause some inflammation. So and that, I think that's fairly common. My mom has the same thing with that. So yeah, nothing is too hard on that one. And then it also has a what not to eat.
This
So
one
yeah.
I don't follow very well anymore.
What's good? There is something good about this one, and that is like on the red meat, it doesn't say no red meat. It just
Thank
says
you, because we know I love my
information.
red meat.
Because sometimes it is hard to completely eliminate something that tastes good.
Yeah,
And then yeah, the butter and margarine, they're saying less than 1 tablespoon per day. I mean, that's not
that's a
that
hard one
hard.
too for me.
Yeah. Now the cheese, no more than once a week. That is kind of hard, actually. That's probably the hardest one for
That's
me.
actually the easiest one for me. I can live without cheese, but I cannot live without steak, and I cannot live without, I got introduced, I was fine without butter for a while, but then somebody introduced me to real butter, and now it's like, oh, drat, I love butter now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is there's something called clarified butter, and it doesn't have any cholesterol in it, but it still has saturated fat in it, and it tastes really good.
Oh,
I don't know what the limit on that would be, so that would be interesting to find out. I'll have to do some more research on that. And then sweets, I'm gonna have to see, but it does limit sweets to no more than 4 times per week. So that's pretty tough to do. That takes a lot of effort, actually.
you literally watched me eat a chocolate chip cookie before we started this. That's what I was eating when we were getting ready to do this.
So that's almost like every other day. So that takes some effort, actually.
Yeah, and
That's
for
what
me
I'm
more than most, because you've seen my freezer full of ice cream. I'm the Nancy Pelosi, the Libertarian Party. Everybody knows that.
So that takes some work. And the fried or fast food, no more than once a week.
Oh,
That
and
can be
there we go.
challenging too.
Yeah, that's
Um,
you're hitting all my dark sides.
I actually do that. The sweets has taken a lot of effort though, this week. And I've pretty much done it, but it's hard. And I have to think only once every other day. So I had some sweets yesterday, so I can't have any today. So, and then cheese for me is kind of difficult because pizza has a lot of cheese.
Oh, I forgot about pizza. Okay, I guess I can't live without cheese because I can't live without pizza. I mean, I can live with almost everything in life, but not pizza. Pizza is at least a once a week thing with me. Yeah,
Well,
that's yeah,
yeah. The other
yeah.
thing that's hard about, well, it does say no more than once a week, so that's at least it doesn't say none. The
Yeah,
other thing that's hard about cheese is the imitation cheeses don't taste very good.
that's not
I don't,
cheese.
yeah.
Not cheese.
They don't taste anything like cheese. They're kind of like, what's this? So that's what
Imitation cheese. Well, imitation cheese. It's like imitation mountains, imitation snow. Please, no such thing.
but yeah, I don't recommend that because it's not the same. But anyway, I mean, knowing what the hard parts are is important. And for me, it is the cheese and the sweets
Yeah.
are the two things that are
Everything
tough.
on this list, I can't do.
And then, oh, yeah, we talked about this. Now, if you noticed, a lot of the areas where our food subsidies go happen to be on the items to avoid list. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So sugar is on the avoid list, oil or some of the oils, and then the red meat is, and then cheese, which is dairy. So that's kind of an interesting thing.
Mm.
Um, and then okay, this is some interesting info. This is some of the press. There's been some positive press that came out on the Mind Diet. And here's some of the sources. So you had Harvard, Healthline, and then WebMD, US News and World Report, Everyday Health, and then there's a bunch of ones below it. Rush, Medical News Today, Forbes, eatingwell.com, foodinsight.org, what's that, Mather Hospital, Wikipedia, and
Hey,
then we have the
Wikipedia, there we go.
then we got the NIH on there at number 14. So the NIH is on there, so that's
Yeah,
good. But they could get a little bit higher on the
yeah.
Google list than 14th. But what's interesting is there is no other government or um other huge news sources like CNN's not on there. There's no state governments on there. There's no other governments except for the NIH. So like there's no like Canada or the United Kingdom or anybody like that on there. So it's really weird that there's not a whole not more like government organizations on there. And I'm not just blaming the federal government because there's no state government on the list on the web search that I did. And then all the major news sources, all the big ones didn't have it. Now some of these smaller ones have it, and that's great. And US News and World Report is pretty big, but it's kind of interesting as it didn't get more news coverage, and this has been out for a while. Um, so it kind of begs the question on why it's not getting more coverage, because you think that would be a huge news story. But it really just isn't getting a ton of press.
Well, let's
And
see if we can start changing that.
yeah, and I think, and obviously, yeah, we can. I mean, we can get the word out there, and as more it gets on more websites and more um, agencies are looking at it, then people will actually know about it. Because I actually had never heard of the Mind Diet before a couple months ago, and almost everybody that I've talked to hasn't heard about it. An exception is Miguel Gomez, who recommends it. He's a sports nutritionist, and he owns his own gym, and he's very interested in nutrition, and he knows about it. But yeah, almost everybody else that I talked to didn't know about it, and I've talked to a lot of people.
Well, and what's interesting is that I know physicians know about it, and because I know, like, my doctor recommended it, and so I know, like, but what's interesting is, like, my doctor, like, and people like who know me know that my doctor is a unique sort of doctor, because my I I belong to a certain network of physicians that that I pay to keep me healthy. So I see them I see my doctor every 6 months. And I do a fasting blood draw, and they check me for what I'm lacking, and then they work with me to keep me healthy. And that is their job, to keep me healthy. So my doctor very rarely ever sees me sick. And so like when my doctor was first noticing that I was having some problems with my cholesterol and things like that, the first thing my doctor did was suggest this diet. And I'm really glad he did. And so this is interesting that when you were telling me about this, at first I didn't realize, when you're talking about the mind diet, that you were talking about the Mediterranean diet, because this was almost exactly the same thing that my doctor had suggested. And I did a lot of research on it, and I actually loved it. And I found other people that were on it who had nutritionists and such explain, tell them to go on it. And so finding out that, that this wasn't very well publicized in the mainstream media was surprising to me also, because people that I talk to, like in my sphere, who actually have really great medical relationships with their doctors and their nutritionists, and they have alternative forms of medicine, had actually heard of this and were on it. And that's what and there we go, the disparity between people who have money for medical care and nutrition care and people who don't, which that is actually the big tragedy of this, which is why I'm glad you're taking this up and going to use your platform to start building relationships with other groups, that you can reach, that people who don't have your voice don't have that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do, is get that information more readily available. So it's not just a select few that know about it. Because I mean, this is these problems are huge, and they're affecting everybody. It's affecting the whole healthcare system of the United States.
Right. And it's not just healthcare. I mean, we're talking about like dementia. I mean, these are long-term problems that will affect income, right? If you are a family that has an extended family, and your father or your mother gets dementia, and you have a low income family and they come live with you, that is a drain on your financial resources, because people in your family are taking care of them. And they should. I mean, this is what family is there for. But if it's unnecessary, if this dementia could have been prevented, and we don't know if it could or couldn't have been, but we're beginning to realize that there are preventative measures for many of our illnesses, like diabetes and dementia and things like that. And people are not being given the right tools in their toolbox, and it's because the government is preventing it. Then we need to step in and teach the government how to be more resourceful with our resources. And these are our resources, right?
Yeah. Exactly. What's interesting is the NIH has been involved in studies, but the information just isn't getting out there very well at all. And that's the real problem. And you're right, it does adversely affect lower income households a lot more, because they just don't have the time or the resources or the know-how to do their own research a lot of times, or sometimes there's language barriers too.
Right.
I mean, especially if it's like English, if they're English as a second language type people, it might be really, I mean, it's not the easiest thing for me either, but the technical information can be pretty hard to read. So yeah, it can be really tough for them to get that information. And then if the doctors aren't giving it out, they're not going to get it. And
right. And if you don't, and if you're only spending like, a few minutes with your doctor, and most people only spend a few minutes with their doctor is there to treat their illness, not to promote their health, in most cases. And like I said, I go back to, I'm very lucky. I have the type of physician who is there to promote my health, and my doctor does an amazing job of promoting my health. But if your doctor is there just to treat your illness, they're not going to care about, what you're doing to promote your health or your family's health. And the government it doesn't care like they're caring either, because if they're preparing subsidies that are not helping things that will later on promote our health, this is something that we need to start getting advocacy groups involved with that actually care about the long-term benefits of America, like what's going to happen to us in 50, 60 years when these politicians are no longer around, but the children who were eating off of my plate are around.
Yeah, yeah, there are a lot of huge reasons why this is important. I mean, all the health risks and just dementia by itself is huge. The amount that increases all of our healthcare costs is through the roof, because I mean, my dad, I mean, you can use him as an example, but I mean, he's needing pretty constant healthcare with hospice, and they're doing a great job. And then my mom and my brother are helping to take care of him. It's taking them a lot of their time to do it as well. And so the cost, it's their cost and the government's cost for having, I mean, they're paying for the hospice care through Medicare. So that adds to that that cost as well. So it everything gets more expensive, and I mean, there's environmental impacts too. With all the diapers that get thrown away, all that type of thing. It's
Right.
like whole a whole
Yeah.
trash can full of diapers to go to the landfill. It take thousands of years to decompose.
You have to start
Yeah,
thinking long-term on these things. Yeah. So, well, hopefully, we'll, a year from now, we'll revisit this and you will have coalitions formed, and we're going to start, at least maybe ending some of these subsidies that aren't helping America's plate. So maybe that will be a first step, and we'll see what happens from there. So this looks like you've got an exciting year planned, and so hopefully, we'll keep people informed on your website, and this will give people something exciting to look forward to, and follow your newest journey.
yeah, and I'll include links to the Mind Diet on the YouTube page, so you can just
Okay.
click on there. It'll take you right to WebMD, which has all the info.
That's
So
That's awesome. Thank you. And also make sure that you start putting them on your Facebook page so people can start following that. And if people want to become involved in that, to start messaging you and help you with the coalition building, so as you start joining in partnerships with other people on this, because this is something that it's not going to be a quick fix. Changing the obesity rate in America is never a quick fix, as we've seen. It hasn't stopped yet, but we can take steps, right? And so this is a good first step. And by the way, the Mind Diet isn't the only diet in America, but this is the one that that has been shown to help people with dementia, and that is your target demographic. It's not so much the obesity as it is the mental acuity that you are the most concerned with, because really, when it comes down to it, it's about the people we love, and you love your dad.
yeah, exactly. And my dad actually, throughout pretty much his whole life, was very interested in being healthy and tried to eat a healthy diet. And generally he didn't do a bad job. I wouldn't he definitely didn't like go to McDonald's all the time or do stuff like that. So I think if he had very specific instructions like the Mind Diet, it would have helped him. Now whether he would have gotten Alzheimer's or not anyway, it's hard to say. I mean, there's
Well,
no way
and
to know that for sure. But
See, that's it. I mean, you know,
Mm.
because Alzheimer's runs in my family too, and I have to admit that's a very terrifying thought for me also. But and I've talked to my physician about this, and he's talked to me about, you know, sometimes you can't stop you know, something that runs in your family, but what you can do is slow it. You know, and so this is one of the things that maybe you can't stop it, but you can maybe stop, you know, stop it from spreading as quickly. And so that's what we're looking at.
yeah, that's a very good point. And there are also studies that show that that it is slowing. That does slow dementia as well. So that's encouraging also, because I guess if you get it when you're 95, it's a lot better than getting it when you're 65. So
May we all live to 95. You know, goals. I can't imagine. And I say that because my father's actually, he's 91, and he is healthy as heck. So, I know I come from good, and he doesn't have dementia. So I know I come from good stock. So
That's impressive.
I know, right?
That's really good.
Yeah, quite a story, the life he has. So,
Yeah, 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 it's very exciting, and we will provide more information when we get